Hello, my name is James Pywell and this is the 92 podcast. I'm on a quest to speak to at least one fan from each of the 92 football teams that make up the Premier League, the Championship, League One and League Two. Each episode I'll shine a spotlight on a different club, talking to their fans, testing their knowledge and learning what it's like to be a supporter of their team and what makes supporting their club different from the rest. In this episode the focus is on a club fighting to remain in the Championship. It's Sheffield Wednesday.
I thought it was our time in 2016 in the playoff final.
That was the time, and I think we missed a big opportunity there, because on that particular day, that game, it was there for the taking. The Sheffield accents, that's quite. I don't live there anymore, but I like to hear that. I know I'm back there when I can hear the broad Sheffield accent again.
The atmosphere was incredible, and we went 2-0 up, and everyone got their phones out and put the lights on, and that scene of seeing the entire stadium lit up was quite incredible, to be honest.
Now, I don't know too much about Wednesday, other than the fact that their biggest rivals are Sheffield United, and as I mentioned before, they're fighting to avoid relegation to League One, which is why I'm joined on this episode by not just one Wednesday fan, but a Wednesday fan and his dad, to get a sense of what supporting the club is like, and to see if it differs from generation to generation. First of all, let's say hello to Matty. Hello Matty, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Hi James, yeah, thanks for having us on. It's a bit of a weird time to be a Wednesday fan, I must admit.
It is. We're recording this 5 minutes after the derby match is finished, so we've got plenty to talk about. But before we do that, let's also welcome in your dad, Chris. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thanks very much, James. And again, thanks for having me on.
So, like I said, we're recording 5 or 10 minutes after that match is finished. What are both of your reactions at the moment? What's your feelings?
Well, I'm hopeful still that we can cling on. Basically, we've got a situation where Rotherham can't win either of their 2 games that they've got left, and we have to beat Derby on the last day. So we've seen it before. If anyone knows Wednesday, we probably won't be doing it, but there's still that little bit of hope. So I don't know what you think, Dad.
This is exactly what they do to us. So I'm feeling quite calm at the moment, and would be amazed if it all works out next Saturday. In some ways, I think we'd rather they put us out of our misery weeks ago, but they haven't done. So, and this will be the 4th time I've been here seeing them relegated to League One if it happens, or the 3rd tier.
So, Chris, does it get any easier after you've already witnessed 3 other relegations?
No. Absolutely not. It's just what it's like supporting Wednesday. I've thought of myself a few times, because I live in the northwest in Cheshire, and a lot of people around here support City, United, Liverpool, and I've always wondered what's it like to support a team that usually wins. Never experienced that.
So have you been a Wednesday fan all your life then?
I have, yeah. My mother and grandfather are both, well, my mum's still around, both Wednesday fans. So yeah, I've been going since first game, 19th of October 1968 was when I first went to see them at home against Wolves, and guess what? They lost 2-0.
Did you not see that as a warning sign?
I should have done, shouldn't I? I should have done, but no.
And then obviously you've passed the bug on to your son Matty.
Well, well, sort of. Yeah, I didn't force him to do it, because he did have a slight stutter earlier on when he seemed to grow some weird allegiance to Man City, but he soon grew out of that and saw the light. So
I think I need to justify that slightly, because that does sound a bit odd. When you grow up in Cheshire, Sheffield Wednesday isn't the hot topic in primary school, I must admit.
No.
So yeah, there's a lot more talk about Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Everton. So it swayed me slightly, but I saw the light in the end, and I'm a fully fledged Wednesday fan.
And you've been suffering ever since.
Yeah, my first game for Wednesday was also a 2-0 home defeat, so we've got that in common, Dan.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll come on a bit more to the current season in a little while, but let's delve a little bit deeper into some of your own memories. So let's start with you, Matty. Who are some of the best players that you've seen don a Sheffield Wednesday shirt?
Well, by far my favourite player that's played for Wednesday, is still playing, is Barry Bannon.
Yeah.
He's been with the club for a lot of years now, but if he's on it, we can win a match just because he's playing well, and he's kind of that creative spark that any club could benefit from. Also, I kind of see him, given that I'm not the tallest person in the world, if I were to be a professional footballer, I think he's doing what I would do. So I feel like he's recreating my fantasy of being a professional footballer in the way he plays. So, but my fear is that we go down to League One and he's not a League One player. I don't think he's certainly Championship quality, and there's even talk of him going to a Premier League team. So a bit concerned about that.
What about you, Chris? Who are some of the best players that you've seen for Sheffield Wednesday?
Well, there have been a number, but I think going back to the 1990s when we had Chris Waddle in the team, he's an international. I think by far the best striker I've ever seen for Wednesday was David Hurst, who was sort of around from 86 to 97. Those are the two probably best players I've seen. But one of the most exciting players was a guy called Terry Curran, sort of 1979-82 era, just because he was a little bit flamboyant and great at winding other teams up, and he was skillful as well. He's a bit of a bad lad. I really liked him. So those have been my best ones.
So let's flip the coin then. Who are some of the worst players that you've seen don a Sheffield Wednesday shirt? The types of players that you just didn't like seeing them play for your club. We'll start with you, Chris.
During the 1970s, we went on a steep decline from going out the first division right down to the third, and in fact, in the mid-70s, we won the final game of the season against Southend to stay out of the fourth division. So we've had some rubbish players playing for us over the years. One that comes to mind for me was a defender called Fred McIver. He was just rubbish. Colin West as a striker was one of the poorest ones. But there are one or two in the current team who I would rank in worst Wednesday players I've ever seen. Joey Pelupesi being one of them. But yeah, there's been loads of rubbish ones.
So what about you, Matty?
Yeah, mine are a lot more recent, but there's one guy, I'm trying to think of his name for the last week, and eventually it came to me, Niall Ranger. He played 8 games for us on loan, scored 1 goal. He probably didn't play very much, but I just remember him as being an awful player, and I'm sure there's a lot of other fans around who think, yeah, Niall Ranger, he was not great. So, and there's one other striker we've had, a Romanian guy called Sergio Bush or Bus, who played for 2 years, scored 1 goal as a striker. So it says it all, really.
It does. So when you think about specific matches, are there any matches that stand out in your mind as either being positive or negative?
Well, I'll start by talking about our recent playoff hopes, which 2015-16 season we played in the semi-final against Brighton, and that home leg for me is the standout fixture that I've ever been to. We won the first leg 2-0 and scraped through the second leg. But yeah, in that first leg, it was I think must have been a Friday night, and the atmosphere was incredible. And we went 2-0 up, and everyone got their phones out and put the lights on, and that scene of seeing the entire stadium lit up was quite incredible, to be honest. Went on to lose in the final to Hull, but don't talk about that. Yeah, no. and then there's one other game that for most Wednesday fans wouldn't even come to mind, because we drew away to Preston. Nothing particularly special there, but I took my friend who supports Liverpool to that game in the away end Wednesday. My whole hope was that he'd get to experience the Wednesday away end. We scored the equaliser in the 94th minute. Adam reached right in front of us. We were sat right behind the goal, so he got to experience the absolute chaos of the away ends, which was perfect, really.
What about you, Chris? What matches stick in your mind?
Right, highlights for me: the Boxing Day Massacre, 1979, Division 3 versus Sheffield United, and we won 4-0. That was just unbelievable. Stood on the Cop at Hillsborough. And we've lived off that forever, because they've never beaten us 4-0 ever since then. So we're still sort of dying out on that one. Also, I particularly enjoyed the League One playoff final in 2005. 40,000 Wednesday fans down at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, and we both went to that, and we beat Hartlepool, which you would expect us to have done, but we actually went behind in that game and then won in the end. It was just brilliant. The fact that I took Matthew and he saw us win something was something I hadn't seen very, very many times. That was great.
So one question that sticks in my mind: why did you choose Sheffield Wednesday and not Sheffield United?
Who you asking me now?
Yeah, you, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's passed down really. My mother and my grandfather sort of guided me towards that. My dad supported Blackburn Rovers, but we lived in Sheffield at the time,
Yeah.
so I was just really guided down that route. We support Wednesday, and that was it.
What about you, Matty? Have you ever been tempted? Obviously, we've already mentioned Manchester City, but were you ever tempted to kind of rebel against everybody else in your family and support United instead?
I couldn't even fathom that idea. I must admit, I haven't really paid too much interest in the Premier League this season, apart from checking that Sheffield United have lost. That's the only thing that I've cared about. It would be nice if Leeds had lost a few more as well, but anyway.
In fact,
Yeah,
you haven't been to Bramall Lane, have you?
I did go once. I saw Crewe away there, but yeah, that was. I haven't seen Wednesday away at Bramall Lane. No, no, but it's built in. I don't like Sheffield United.
So let's delve a little bit deeper into that rivalry then. We'll start with you, Chris. What is a rivalry between Wednesday and United like?
Well, when I lived in the city, and obviously growing up and being at school there, it was quite. There was always a lot of banter, and it was quite fierce, but never got. I don't think it ever got out of hand. And you sort of supported one or the other. And some people have asked, well, what sort of people, if you like, supported Wednesday United? Was it like the posher people supporting one, or was one more a working class supporter base? And the answer is no. It was mixed on both counts, I think. And since I mean, most of my working career has been in the northwest, so I've not lived actually in Sheffield for a long time. So I don't feel the intensity of it at all now, really, apart from on social media. And I've got friends who are in Sheffield and go a lot more than I ever did, and are still very, very passionate about it. So I don't kind of feel any hatred, anything like that at all. But if you ask me who plays for Sheffield United, I wouldn't know.
That's good. So let's move it over to you then, Matty. What's your experiences of the Steel City derby, if any?
Oh yeah. Well, unfortunately, my most recent experience was a 4-2 defeat, which a lot of Wednesday fans will feel the pain of thinking about. But I've also seen us win against them 2-1 at home in about 2010, I think. Yeah. So I've had a bit of both, but at the moment, obviously with the difference in the divisions as well, it's a little bit tricky to think of positives against Sheffield United.
So let's think about some of the other rivalries then. You already alluded to the rivalry with Leeds, but obviously there's Barnsley, Rotherham and Doncaster as well. What about those teams?
Well, I have only been to home fixtures against them teams. And okay. I think where the real animosity starts is if you go to an away game against particularly Leeds. I think that's where it starts to heat up. Obviously, Rotherham at the moment, if they were to pip us to Championship safety, that would probably put a bit of fuel on the fire to build that rivalry even further when we do play each other next time. There's been a few recent games against Rotherham where 96-minute goals have gone in both ways. So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit saddening to say, but we're almost a similar level to Rotherham at the moment, which doesn't feel like we should be. We should be a lot bigger than them, I think. But yeah, that feels like the one at the moment that's got the most fire to it.
So to both of you then, is there any other clubs, being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, that you absolutely can't stand other than, the obvious ones like we've just mentioned?
For me, it's Arsenal. When we lost both cup finals to them in 1993, they were sort of Ian Wright was our nemesis at that time. And even if you're a younger supporter, you'll know who Ian Wright is because he's on on BBC a lot. I just don't know Arsenal. I don't like them. Earlier than that, in the 70s again, we had an FA Cup run against Arsenal, and it went to 3 replays. We didn't have penalty shootouts in those days, so we drew at Hillsborough, we drew at Highbury, and then a neutral venue was selected, which was Filbert Street, which is where Leicester City used to play. And I think the first replay was a draw, and then Arsenal won the one after that. So I've sort of got a bad history against Arsenal, and also in the FA Cup semi-final again in the 80s, we lost to Brighton, and that was at Highbury. Yeah, Arsenal's not my favourite.
What about you, Matty?
I don't know. Well, I'm trying to think, actually. I'm not sure I do have any other... I don't think I've got any other serious animosities. It's just, obviously, growing up in Cheshire, there's a lot of Liverpool and United fans. So particularly Liverpool. I mean, I got one friend who is a little bit overconfident sometimes and thinks they should be better than they are. So for that reason, sometimes nice to see Liverpool lose. But yeah, that's it.
So when we're actually allowed to go to matches, what is the atmosphere like at Hillsborough?
It's electric. There's one thing that I keep thinking about that I really want to experience again, and that's the song that we play out and everyone kind of shouts out at the start. Hi ho, Sheffield Wednesday. That when that moment happens again, that feels like we're back. This is it. We're back at Hillsborough, and there's something about Wednesday fans. There's an extra level of passion. If you put 2,000 Wednesday fans next to 2,000 of any other set of fans, it's likely that Wednesday fans would be louder, have more songs to sing, and just generally a bit more chaotic, shall we say.
What about you, Chris? How would you describe the atmosphere?
Well, I've experienced various atmospheres at Hillsborough over the years. It's just it's the build-up as well. It's driving to the game, parking in a familiar spot, walking down to the ground, and then you see the ground, and then you start to feel the atmosphere. Once you get in amongst the fans around the ground, and then you go in, and then we might have a drink and a pie or something before the game, and then you walk up the steps and actually into the ground itself and see the pitch, and it's just all the memories are there, the good feelings and quite a few bad ones. And then again hearing the singing when that gets, and the quite witty banter, and also the Sheffield accents. That's quite. I don't live there anymore, but I like to hear that. I know I'm back there when I can hear the broad Sheffield accent again.
So in both of your experiences, what are Sheffield Wednesday fans like?
Oh, now got to be careful here. No,
We've got to be very careful here, because there's a mixture of people who study the game and have played football and get it, and aren't hugely, don't have huge animosity towards the other team, and then there's, like every club has, a bunch of supporters who would see through one eye only, and scream abuse at anything really, and absolutely hate the other supporters and the other team. I don't particularly enjoy that side of it, but it's a complete mixture. Especially my age, it's people who've been through the roller coaster several times, so we're not surprised by anything. And we've probably said that never again. I'm not going again. That's it. But you can't keep away. You can't stop yourself supporting your team, and you can't stop going.
I think there's a modern side to it as well with social media. There's a lot of fans who are very quick to complain. It's definitely not just Wednesday fans, but obviously when I see my social media, there's a lot of Wednesday fans on there. We're quite vocal, but it's that kind of passion that's part of being from Sheffield. I think it's built into you.
I think one of the things is it is a big club, but it also probably thinks it ought to be more successful than it is, just because it's a big club with a big fan base and it's loud and vocal, and it just isn't the case. So it becomes quite, over the years, when you still see the fixture list for the next season and see some of the teams you're playing, it's almost this feeling of, we can't possibly be playing them. But as we've found many times, the smaller clubs, when they end up coming to Hillsborough for the first time, and their stadium might be 10,000 capacity type stadium or something like that, coming to Hillsborough's a cup final for them, and they all raise the game. So the prospect of going down to League One again is not the thought that we'll come straight back up is a load of nonsense. Look at Sunderland and Ipswich.
Yeah. So what's the relationship like between the club and the fans?
Now or then or when or whatever. It's not great. It's not great, because we did have Mr. Chanziri came in and pumped a lot of money into the club. It's from Thailand. It's all gone a bit wrong, and the feeling is that he doesn't really understand football properly. He doesn't understand Sheffield, and as soon as it's gone a bit wrong, everyone seemed to turn against him. We have had a number of managerial appointments over the last few years. Carlos Carvalhal was probably the best one, but Steve Bruce could have been even better, but he walked out on the club, and it's the stability isn't there at the moment, I don't think, and that's what the fans don't like. We want success, and it's not coming. So who can we blame? It's very easy to blame the owner of the club, but he isn't English, but he did pump a lot of money in, so it's not great at the moment.
So let's move on to this season then. You mentioned that you've had quite a few managers over the last few seasons. You've had 3 this season. Obviously, you started out with Gary Monk, and then you mentioned Tony Pulis, and now you've got Darren Moore. Do you think that is the reason why, or at least one of the reasons why Sheffield Wednesday have struggled this year, the fact that they've not had a solid manager all throughout the season?
Yeah, for sure. Steve Bruce was a very positive-looking manager for Sheffield Wednesday. It all seemed to kind of fit. It was such a shame that he obviously wanted to go to Newcastle, his boyhood club, and you kind of have to accept that, okay, that's what's happened, fine. Gary Monk coming in clearly didn't galvanise the players in any way whatsoever. It didn't work at all. Fine, sometimes that happens. Tony Pulis comes in. All right, Tony Pulis, we all know who he is. He's likely to keep the club up. He has 10 games, and then what's expected, people aren't sure, but is that he's fallen out with the chairman. And he's given him a few home truths. The chairman hasn't liked him, and he's sacked him. No one can be sure that that's happened, but that's the rumour. That moment there, you're thinking, all right, Tony Pulis has just been sacked after 10 games. We've got no manager. We're in the relegation zone. What's going to happen here? It takes a few months to get another manager in, and when we get Darren Moore, okay, this looks good, Darren Moore, but we're now in a situation where we've had 3 managers, the team's chopping and changing all over the place. We haven't had a settled goalkeeper even for the whole season, which, I mean, starting from the back and not having that stability throughout the team has been a real issue.
So another one of the contributing factors is obviously the points deduction. It was minus 12 before the season started, but then obviously it was reduced to minus 6. What was the feeling amongst the fans about that whole debacle about the points deduction and everything like that?
It was sort of blamed squarely at the chairman's door.
Yeah,
and stuff going on behind the scenes with the books and the accounting system. If we did try to do something which was a little bit in a grey area, and we got found out, didn't we? And if we did get found out for doing something wrong, we deserved the penalty. But it put us on the back foot before the season even started.
Yeah, I was a little bit optimistic about this season. Wednesday had 3 seasons before that where we've been mid-table and nothing had really happened. There was almost a sense of excitement about the fact we were going into the season with almost no chance of staying up. What happens if we do stay up? It'll be a great season. And then when it got reduced to 6 points after a few games, you think, okay, this is looking good. We'd won the first few games as well, so it felt like it was going to be a positive season at the end of the day. Since then, we've been very inconsistent, and it's turned into a bit of a disaster. I don't know if people will blame the fact that we had the 6-point deduction on the relegation. I still think we've been one of the poorest teams in the division regardless, so I wouldn't complain if we got relegated. I think we do deserve to go down. And yeah, having the points deduction hasn't helped.
Obviously, if you hadn't have got that points deduction, you would still be very much in the relegation picture anyway. Where else do you think it's gone wrong this season?
Not having a prolific goal scorer.
Yeah, actually, our top goal scorer this season is Josh Windass with 9 goals, which says it all, really. I mean, to not get someone into double figures is a bit disappointing. We lost Stephen Fletcher in the summer. He was a huge reason why we were maintaining our mid-table mediocrity and potentially pushing for the playoffs. And yeah, he went over to Stoke, and that was a big blow, as it turned out.
So you spent 9 seasons in the Championship now, and let's do each scenario separately. If you were to stay in the Championship, what needs to change?
We've got a bit of an issue where I think it's 13 players are still in contract at the end of this season. So a rebuild is going to happen regardless of the division we're in. I do fear that we're going to struggle again next season if we stay up, because we haven't got squad depth at the moment, and the players we buy in will have to gel. It doesn't sound very positive, does it, when I put it like that?
So let's go with the relegation scenario. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but last time you were in League One, it only took you 2 seasons to get promoted back to the Championship. Do you think it'll be that quick this time?
very difficult to say. I'd like to think so. I don't think it would be realistic to think if we do go down, we're going to run away with the League One title next season. But wouldn't surprise me if we're up in the top six the whole season.
Do you think that? I'm not sure.
I think so, because I think they would got. Well, obviously a lot of players are out of contract, so they're going. So that's the end of that. So we would have to get some. They would have to get some more players, and then you just kind of, it's fingers crossed. One of them surely is going to gel and be really good. So yeah, I would be hopeful.
We do have money to actually buy players if we wanted to, which a lot of League One teams don't. So that should stand us in good stead. I mean, money doesn't always get you success in football, but yeah, we've got a chance. I'm just concerned that we'll be following in the footsteps of Sunderland, Portsmouth, Ipswich. Yeah.
You were relegated from the Premier League in the year 2000, so you've been out of the top flight 21 years now. Do you ever think that you'll get back into the top flight?
I thought it was our time in 2016 in the playoff final.
That was the time, and I think we missed a big opportunity there, because on that particular day, that game, it was there for the taking. Ironically, it was Steve Bruce managing them that day, and he had a game plan to win the game. We had a plan. You know, it was going to be a brilliant occasion if we were going to beat Hull, but Steve Bruce outdid us that day. That's for sure. Downhill since then, but yeah, I think we could get up, but I don't think it would be without a huge injection of money into the club. Whether that would be a different owner or what, I've no idea. Incidentally, the last Premier League game I saw at Hillsborough was Sheffield Wednesday 1, Chelsea 0.
I mean, there's another aspect to this as well about Wednesday being in the Premier League, is that a lot of Wednesday fans have actually got a season ticket waiting for them for when we do get into the Premier League, because we started selling 10-year season tickets from the moment we got promoted to the Premier League. So it's kind of a crazy situation that the chairman's got himself in, but he was so confident that we would get up. When he joined the club January 2015, he said, we'll be in the Premier League in 2 years' time. We nearly did, but then we didn't, and now it's gone downhill a bit, and he's struggled.
So we touched upon COVID a little bit before. Do you think if fans had been able to get into the stadiums this season, that Sheffield Wednesday would find themselves in the position they're in now?
I think it has made a huge difference. I mean, I've just watched the game, empty Hillsborough, and you can just, it's almost eerie. And I do think, especially at away games, Wednesday fans do make a difference. And yeah, I really genuinely believe that we wouldn't be down in the bottom three had we had fans this season.
So we're now going to move on to a little bit that we always do with the fans of each club. We're going to put together Sheffield Wednesday all-time 11. Now, you can either do separate ones each, or you can collate your ideas together. Which one do you want to do?
Oh, should we collate it? Have you already done it?
I've done one, yeah. I have done one.
Have you done one that includes modern players?
No, because there aren't any who are good enough to be in my top 11.
Well, the only one I would put in is Barry Bannon out of the... If you want it. But then obviously you're just going to do a lot of the 90s team, right?
He's listed as my favourite current player, by the way, Barry Bannon. So
I would also put Nui on the subs bench, ready to come on if you want. Yeah. But we've got to mention it. All right, we'll just do yours, Dad, and then I'll throw in my suggestions for a few players.
All right, my goalkeeper will be Martin Hodge, who in the 1980s made 240 consecutive appearances for Wednesday. He was just a solid keeper. My back four will be Roland Nielsen, who was over 100 matches for Sweden. Des Walker, England international. Nigel Worthington, Northern Ireland international, and Nigel Pearson. They would be my back four. Nigel Pearson lifted the League Cup trophy in 1991 when we beat Manchester United in the final. So that'll be my back four. In midfield, I would have Chris Waddle, John Sheridan, and then two from a long way before. The guy called Tommy Craig, who was with Wednesday from 1968 to 74. Ginger haired guy, came from Aberdeen. Subsequently was with Newcastle and Aston Villa and Hibernian. And then the last one, a little jinky winger called Eric Potts, who was with Wednesday in the 70s. And at the time, I obviously played football at school and everything. I was a winger, so I just liked him because he was He was an exciting little winger. I liked him a lot. And then up front, I would have David Hurst and Terry Curran. That would be my 11.
It sounds pretty good. I mean, I've heard of most of them names. I haven't heard of the guy from the 60s, I must admit.
Probably Potts, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. But then, my favourite players that we've had at Barry Bannon, as I mentioned, midfield. I would also throw in Mikel Antonio as a winger option. I mean, he's gone on to do great things. I'm a little bit surprised that no one's mentioning him for the England squad, I must admit. I mean, Jesse Lingard's come in at West Ham and got all the publicity, but Mikel Antonio's been there for a while, doing very well for them. And he played for us for a couple of seasons, then went on to Forest and then West Ham after that. And then you could say it's a bit of a joker, but Ade Nuiu up front for us. He was a 6'5" Kosovan forward we had for about 7 years, I think, and he only left the club last season. He divided the fans, should we say. Some liked him, some didn't. But what he did consistently was be at top of the scoring charts, or at least up there. And we brought in a lot of strikers. He was always kind of third choice at the most for us, but he seemed to always get the odd goal. And there's something very exciting about seeing a 6'5" player do a skill, take someone on, nutmeg. It's like, wow, Nuiu's doing that. I can't believe it. But I don't think I'd rank him in the same bracket as David Hurst. No.
So I was going to ask if there was any players from this season that would go into either of your all-time 11s, but I think we've answered that one with
Barry Bannon. Barry Bannon's the one. Yeah. No one else, I don't think.
No, none of them would go into mine, that's for sure.
No.
So has there been any positives that you can take from this season?
We didn't have a transfer embargo. Yeah, that might be the only thing. We basically went out of the 3-year cycle of financial fair play and went back to zero. That's been the positive of the season by taking the points deduction, which says it all.
The positive for me was that one or two younger players have managed to break into the first team squad, and as usual we've messed up there, because I think one of the best ones I've seen is a guy called Liam Shaw, and he will be leaving at the end of the season.
He's on his way to Celtic, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
But you'd say fair enough to that now. I mean, would you rather be playing Champions League football or Forest Green Rovers away in League One? Assuming they get promoted, that is.
That is a very fair point. So in your opinion, what does the future look like for the next, 4 or 5 seasons for Sheffield Wednesday?
Well,
unexpected wins, disappointing home defeats, and a number of draws when the opposition equalised in the 90th minute, probably.
So pretty similar to the last 10 years then.
Yeah. 40 years.
Yeah. I wouldn't bet on Wednesday doing a rapid rise from League One to the Premier League. I don't think they've got that infrastructure around the club to really achieve that. It may happen, but I don't think it's a likely scenario. The most likely scenario is we maintain our mid-table mediocrity in the Championship for the next 5 years, or go down to League One, come back in 2 years' time, and we'll be back there, mid-table mediocrity.
So if you think ahead to 5 seasons in the future, do you think there'll be many players that are currently in the team still at the club?
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the younger players who would be with us. No.
I can't think of any who I think, unless Liam Palmer's still there, because he's been there already.
Yeah, Liam Palmer will still be there. He's been here since about 2010, so why not? Yeah.
So the final thing that we always ask each guest to do is to pitch your team. So if you're meeting somebody who's completely new to football, you've got to convince them that Sheffield Wednesday is the club to support. We'll go with you first, Chris. How would you pitch it to them?
Oh, well, you'd say, come along to a game and you'll find out. You'll enjoy what the supporters offer. You'll get used to the roller coaster ride, and if you end up following them away again, you'll have some very exciting, fun days out. But there's a word of warning: don't expect us to win all the games, because we don't.
What about you, Matty?
It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll focus on certainly the away fans. Being in that block of fans in the corner of the ground, you can basically silence a stadium with a set of Wednesday away fans, and it's a very fun experience. And you know what it's going to be like going to an away day, regardless of, well, unless we're 4-0 down at half time, maybe. It's going to be a good atmosphere. So yeah, that's the main thing for me.
So the final question, it's going to be a tough one. Do you think you will be in the Championship next season?
No, because we've got to beat Derby. Rotherham have to lose, or not win one of two games, and that's too many things to go wrong. We're always rubbish against Derby as well, and even I still think Rotherham got Luton away on Tuesday, and they'll probably just win that 1-0, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
It's out of our hands. I can't say that we will be.
What about you, Chris? Do you think you'll be in the Championship?
I'd like to think so, but but my head says no. No, we won't be. But it won't stop us supporting it. It won't stop us going when we can again.
No, and there's something exciting about.
Apart from anything else, there's a potential for a lot of new grounds for me next season.
Exactly, I was going to say the same thing. That's the exciting thing. We've been in the Championship for so long. It'd be nice to have a few new grounds to go to and new teams to see come to Hillsborough.
And just one final thought: how has it felt? Obviously, you know that relegation is on the cards. How has it felt that it's been delayed for so long? Like, you think it's going to happen and then it doesn't.
Well, you can relate to this as a Grimsby fan.
I can, yes.
It's false hope is the way I've described it to people. They're like, well, Wednesday have won. It's like, no, all they're doing is giving us false hope. That's all it is. It draws it out. There's something nice about getting relegated early on in a way, is that you don't have that drama week after week. But ultimately, you still want your team to stay up. So it's quite nice that they are still in contention to stay up.
It's definitely the hope that kills you, isn't it?
It is.
I just wanted to give if I may, a quick shout out to some old Wednesday fans who have been more dedicated than I have going. Two of whom had a season ticket forever. That's Graham and Stuart, and they would probably say the same sort of things as I have. And there's another guy, Dave, over in Brisbane in Australia, and another mate of mine, Tiffer. And going back a long way, with myself, Stuart, and Tiffer. When you can sponsor players and things like that. Well,
yeah.
There was a time when you could sponsor the kit, and they broke it down into shirts, shorts, and socks. And we actually sponsored Imre Varadi's socks for one season, all three of us. So it was in the project. Chris, Tiffer, and Stu, Imre Varadi's socks sponsor every programme. It cost about £10 between us or something.
If you could sponsor any item of clothing that on any Sheffield Wednesday player currently, what would it be? Just a random question for you there.
Well, with the price of everything, it'd probably be as a full one stud or something.
Barry Bannon's back left stud. Yeah, that's what I'd have.
Barry Bannon's comb.
Yeah, he does have a bit of a dodgy haircut, doesn't he?
Well, thank you both for agreeing to come onto the podcast, and seriously, best of luck to Sheffield Wednesday. I do like Wednesday, and I hope they do play Championship football next season. But if not, I hope they can swiftly get out of League One.
Thank you.
I did see us lose 1-0 at Grimsby once as well.
And Matty, just before we go, you've got a project of your own, haven't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's called Wall Charts 360. Basically, it's a bit of design work that I've been doing to create posters for football fans. So I've currently got Euro 2020 wall charts available, and they're very modestly priced, and the expectation, really, the hope is that people will add donation to charity. So we're partnered with Cancer Research this season. So we've got Euro 2020 wall charts to start with, and then when the fixtures come out, I'll be producing a wall chart for every team in the 92 if anyone wants to have a look.
How can we find that? Is it on social media?
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram is the main place, and it's just at wallcharts360.
Awesome, we'll definitely check that one out. Thanks again to both of you for joining me on this episode.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Once again, thank you to Matty and Chris for talking to us, and of course, thank you for listening. If you'd like to help me on my quest to speak to at least one fan from each of the clubs in the 92 and talk all about your club, you can find us on Twitter at the 92 podcast or email us the92podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. Next time, I'll be talking to another fan from another club in the 92. See you then.